Welcome to Dwarven Forge Live. This is Reliquaries' deep dive into elemental reliquaries. We have our Kickstarter going live right now, and we're going to spend the next hour hanging out with you guys talking about the creation process for the elemental reliquaries, one of the 5 themes in our Kickstarter. I am Nate, and I'm joined across the room in the battle station by Chris, way up in Vermont. Wait, where are you? Down there? No.
Other way. Exact
Eli,
opposite way. There you go.
And just around the block by Nina. Hey, everybody.
Whew.
Hi, everybody.
We've established that I'm not good with directions.
That's fair. It's a good thing that you direct the creative process of the entire campaign.
Yeah. Directions are, it's like time.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you were here for the Dwarven stream yesterday, we're basically going to do the same thing we did there. We're going to talk to Nina and Eli, who sculpted the pieces in this collection, and go through that entire process. Erin was going to join us, but she's not feeling well today, so she's taking it easy.
So we'll never know.
So we'll never know.
Painted.
There's going to be absolutely no discussion about the paint job.
She's taking it to the grave.
But beforehand, and then we'll also show it off in a little terrain build, so you can see what these pieces look like when you're using them as terrain.
And we want your questions. So, part of the fun of having this channel is getting to interact with you guys and talking directly to you. So please ask us early and often.
Early and often. Well, not early. We want to get through the beginning thing first before we take the questions.
Get a notepad. Write down your important questions.
Yeah, because we might go over the questions in the course of just the beginning of this. First thing we're going to do is Casey made a mini documentary kind of documenting the production process. You'll see Eli and Nina and Nate and Aaron and probably some other people in there as well. And it'll give us a little bit of context to jump into the stream. So let's play that.
Yeah, we've got 5 of these. We want for each theme. We have a little mini documentary for each theme. This is the premiere. This hasn't been released. Has it been released? It's on YouTube.
It has been released.
Other than anybody on YouTube.
I asked when you wanted them out, and you said to release them at 10 in the morning. So that's what we've been doing. If you want us to not.
Okay. Well,
literally, all right.
If you haven't seen it yet on YouTube, this is a documentary. We're trying to capture the process because I think we have it's kind of a fun process. So we want to show you some of the twists and turns, and then it'll frame this discussion.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into it. See you in a few minutes.
So it was really important for Reliquaries for each of the themes to feel distinct. And elemental is the most organic of all of them. It's just pure flowing dynamic energy in a way that nothing else is.
For the elemental theme, we wanted pieces that create a sense of motion and energy and kind of upward force. Generally, I just love doing elemental and energetic pieces that are, sort of pure raw energy. I find it very relaxing and kind of impressionistic, trying to carry the sense of flow through a piece.
Before we start sculpting, we create a lot of concept art. Then we'll usually do some drawing, iterate on the different concepts until we get something that is going to be moved forward into sculpting.
When we were exploring the elemental concept, there was this one piece that Nina did that was amazing. It was this tree with energy coming out of it that it felt totally like a piece of the Dreadhollow Forest, and that was kind of our genesis for this. And then that piece ended up getting cut. Like it evolved into something else.
The 3 sculpts we ended up going with were the Phoenix, the Energy Helix, and the Geyser. With sculpting the water droplets, I looked at a lot of photos of things being dropped into water so I could get a better sense of what it looks like in that moment before the drops splash back down to try to capture the movement in the sculpt. It's always an interesting process with sculpting to try to make something that's still look like it's moving. The spiral was sort of inspired by waterbenders from, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sort of someone charging up the energy of the water before sending it shooting outwards.
When you think of elements, it's very punchy color and saturated. I usually play a druid, and I just like the very natural elemental feel.
I found this reference of this magical
water creature, and I really liked the way that he gradiated from like purple to like a turquoise aqua color, and with a little bit of silver paint I tried to fill in the highlights of where the water would catch light to kind of make it feel more like water.
So for the energy vortex, what we wanted was something that felt like kind of an intertwining of two opposites. Perhaps a force from the Shadowfell, and then some kind of bright light energy from the celestial planes. One of them has sort of dark, tormented face shapes almost, and it's sort of bursting up and then oozing down again even as it rises. And the other is sort of pure upward energy.
I kind of wanted it to be like life, earth, green, growth, and then death, matte, lifeless. And then I also tried like a purple version for the life side, but I felt like the purple with death, it just felt like kind of evil. But in the end we decided to go with the more purple paint scheme because it just looked much better next to the phoenix and the geyser than the green version did.
Being that Reliquaries is in fantasy world, we're like, all right, we've got to do a dragon. Then after a bunch of exploration, we said, what are some other interesting creatures that are kind of elemental nature? And Eli drew this phoenix. It was the eureka moment.
It didn't necessarily need to be a fire creature. It was just an energy creature, which, it might be bursting up from the ocean. It might be bursting from a vortex of pure ether, or, it might be just purely air creatures. It can be different sorts of phoenixes, depending on what you want and how we end up painting it. I'm sure the paint team will do something amazing, but it's maybe not quite pure fire. It's maybe got a little extra arcane something in it.
Originally, we were going to have an RGB color changing LED inside the phoenix. But when we got to actually painting it, in order for it to be painted to work with every color, it kind of had to just have no paint.
When people think of a phoenix, the most universal paint scheme is it being on fire.
We said, let's just commit to blazing fire LEDs in the chest.
I was given the casting before it was finalized, so it was experimenting with what the light would look like inside of it without knowing.
And I wasn't sure if it was going to work or not, and then Erin took the prototype she was painting and took a light, blasted it behind, and put a photo up. Oh, there it is. It was magic. It came to life, and then we had to film it. We've done little explorations of bits of energy in some of our terrain sculpts previously, but we've never done a whole family of just raw energy, and we've never done anything like Reliquaries. It's unbelievable when this army of artists converges on an idea of what can be birthed out there. It's like there's nothing cooler. And now we get to share it with everybody and see what happens.
See you later, everybody.
Yeah, that's it.
What
Goodbye.
else is there talk after that?
All right. So,
we that was a good refresher, because we were talking about during the as this video was playing, it's for whatever reason it's quite a blur for everybody. Nina's like, am I even in this video? Did I talk about this? What's going on? So Nina, do you remember sculpting anything?
I think it might have been my doppelganger.
And when you weren't fighting for the death?
No. She went to work. I took a nap.
And Eli, do you remember sculpting anything?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
I sometimes twice or three times.
Oh, well,
There.
actually, now that you mention it.
Right?
Oh, well, let's give people a little. If for anybody that didn't watch our previous deep dive, so the way the creative process works here with Reliquaries was we had an idea of what our kind of themes were going to be. We didn't know what the things within those themes were going to be, and a couple of the themes were a little amorphous. And this was one that was particularly, it was a slippery eel. Like, we hadn't really figured out what it was. It took a while to kind of figure this one out.
that'd be a good reliquary.
The slippery eel,
Yeah.
reliquary, twisted eels. So we meet twice a week. The creative group meets twice a week and just keeps chipping away at ideas, right? You're throwing out a thing, we think you get somewhere, and then someone points out a thing that doesn't work, and you back to the drawing board. And keep iterating, and throwing new ideas into the creative stew. Like everybody's throwing more stuff in there, building on top of, piggybacking on each other's ideas, till we run out of time. It's really I was going to say till we figure it out. It's mostly until we just run out of time. So that's my question for you guys. Do you remember, Nina? What do you remember from the process of trying to figure out what the heck elemental was? Uh-oh, you're muted. I blame Momo. He totally stood on the.
Literally every time I go to talk on a Zoom call, everyone just yells, "You're muted." I'll figure it out one of these days. Anyway, so what I remember most is that very early on in the process, we actually started thinking about what the paint would need to be, because that was going to have a really big impact on how the sculpts could be. Because I remember I did some early drawings that were like both trees and water, sort of like a baby spirit tree, like the spirit tree Eli did during Dread Hollow. And then we're thinking, okay, but that might not work with the paint that we're able to do. And then we started thinking about different animals, and I know we did some dragons. There were some other animals.
Well, I was fixated on a dragon, and you guys were lobbying. You're like, if there's something cooler we can do, we just got to find it. And then the initial pitch was, someone was like, well, why don't we do an elemental dragon, twist it and make it, it's an ice dragon or some sort of lightning dragon or some sort of whatever. And that led to a lot of exploration. And then Eli, you started going down the rabbit hole of other mythical creatures, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was sort of advocating for a coatl for a while, just because I thought that was kind of unusual. It had some wonderful color to it and nice serpentine shapes. And I mean, I played around with this. Actually, I have right here a sort of a test sculpt of a sort of purely elemental dragon that I just whipped up at some point. But I also I started doing phoenixes, because what's a more elemental creature than a phoenix? And I probably did 6 or 7 sketches of phoenixes. And at one point, I just had this whole lineup of them, and there was one that, Nate, you particularly fell for, I think, which kind of morphed into this guy. But yeah, there was a lot of debate at the point. Actually, to Nina's earlier point about paint, another thing that we weren't sure of initially was LEDs. Like, her tree design really kind of needed an LED in it, but we realized it was going to be one of the sidecars, and so it wasn't going to get one, and so that made it less desirable. Even though it was really cool in itself, it didn't quite fit the overall scheme.
Well, we hadn't figured out all the rules, right? Like we were initially, we didn't really know. We hadn't quantified what's the difference between a hero, a pedestal, and a throne. Are we going to do LEDs at all? If we are they in all of them? Are they just in one? What's our general size parameters? What are our color parameters? Like, it was this blank slate. It took us a while to kind of figure out, like, put a box. Like, we needed some guardrails, because otherwise we would just go off into outer space and do like these crazy unwieldy whatever. And it took us a while to find the guardrails. And I feel like this theme was one of the ones that we kind of established some of the guardrails, like size and light and color.
Well, the Phoenix is what all the other hero sculpts had to chase size-wise, right?
The Phoenix really got everybody for
height.
height.
Yeah. It was the first hero that got done. I charged in because we were more. We had picked, although we went through a bunch of creatures and so on, we had picked the Phoenix before we had totally finalized any of the other heroes.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get cranked along in sculpting. I made it, and in creating it, realized that because we had a particular sort of size thing, we thought we were going to have to fit in the base that had a battery, an LED switch, whatever, and it was fairly tall and fairly broad, and it had to fit in there. And so once I'd created that swirl of energy that would hold that, plus a well on the top of it for the dice to fit into, that made a fairly tall unit, and a little teeny Phoenix on that would have looked pretty silly. Unlike some of the other sculpts where the whole unit was kind of one piece, and the LED and the battery could fit inside the whole thing. This definitely had a base and then a creature above the base, and the base couldn't dominate the creature, or it just wouldn't have worked. So it ended up getting pretty tall. And
as I was creating those wings, I remember Nate kept saying, "Make them pointier, make them sharper," just
They
go.
just get bigger,
It was
bigger,
really
bigger.
yeah. The shape of it is all about kind of the energy moving from a spiral into an upward burst. So it needed room to burst and to spread its wings. So yeah, and then everyone's like, "Oh, gee, it's kind of big," but
It got big, but it needed to, and it was.
yeah, it really, because also to hold the bigger dice in that nest of flame. Again, it would have looked like it had some kind of a like pregnant or something if it had just like a giant die in front of a teeny little phoenix.
Well, Nina, you've done that cool little tree, that cool spirally tree thing that you've done early on was a thing that we were chasing for a while. Like originally we had talked about doing like a companion set to the Dread Hollow Forest to the Spirit Tree, right? Because we saw that cool little tree, the thing, but those cool tendrils of light that were holding up the die that you'd drawn, and there was this thing that we ended up chasing for a while. Like Eli, you ended up doing a bunch of these creature designs that they had like tendrils on their back that were holding it, right? Like the phoenix that had twisted fire on its back holding it and all that stuff. Like we kept chasing that little tree design, which never ended up making it. It was the thing that kind of was the genesis of this whole theme.
I feel like we do that a lot though, where we start really liking one idea and then we realize it's completely impractical.
Or it doesn't work with
it's like
the
a
rest.
big part of the
Yeah.
It's a big part of the process, I think, is the genesis idea turning into something we can actually do.
Yeah. Well, also the inserts really evolved. Initially we wondered if we could just have things that the dice would just fit in, and which might have been tendrils, say, or claws or whatever the case might be, and that actually, and wanting to really showcase the dice, definitely drove things. Like the first Phoenix design, it was more swooping. It was kind of a like a hawk coming into attack with its
It's like
claws
a stealth
out.
bomber. Yeah.
Yeah, and the die would have sort of sat on its back, which would have been a prominent position. But then the question was, well, does that really make sense? Would a Phoenix carry a thing around its back, and does it actually show off the die that well, or would it just feel kind of weird? And it felt like it would have made a neat creature sculpt as a creature if you didn't have a die on it. But we wanted it to be definitely showcasing the die when the die was there. So this one, I think, it can just be a Phoenix rising from this swirl of flame with kind of an eye of the storm in the center, if you just want to use it as a creature or as a spell effect or something happening in your layout. But when you put the die there, it belongs there, and it's really kind of cradled by the creature, and it's almost like the egg from which the Phoenix emerges, and that felt like a really cool choice.
If you're using it as terrain, you could
Piggyback.
totally put a pile of treasure in there and get
yeah.
really lure your or put some Easter eggs. We have can you guys see on the feed? I don't know if we have the from Easter, Mace painted the wyvern eggs from the Wildlands wyvern nest as Easter eggs.
Oh, no way. I can't
So
see
now
those.
I don't think we have any that are actually colored the right way. Now we just have the Easter versions.
Yeah, all three of our eggs are different sets of Easter eggs. We have no actual correct eggs in the studio.
Oh wait, they were Easter eggs,
Well,
right?
who knows what a wyvern lays, right? I mean,
I don't think they would lay pastel swirled like Charlie Brown striped eggs.
The Easter wyvern has arrived.
So, Nina, do you remember? I don't. With the water geyser, I feel like we had the Phoenix and the
Yeah, those
Helix.
were in progress. I don't know if they were done yet, but they were like well on their way before we started really figuring out the last one.
And how did we end up on the cool frozen water splash moment? Like, how did that even happen?
What I kind of remember is like I woke up one morning and I looked at Slack, and you were like, you gotta make it like enclose the thing, like do some drawings. It needs to wrap around. And you were yelling about thrones, and I was like, okay, I definitely missed a meeting or something. I have no
That
idea
tracks.
what's going on. Yeah. So then I did some drawings, and some of them were spiky at first, but then we're thinking, okay, well the Phoenix is already kind of spiky, so maybe not. And then we decided to just like sort of take the water out of the tree earlier and do some like that. And then eventually it ended up as more of like a wave splash with a swirl on the bottom.
There's a lot of drawing, a lot of iterating.
Oh yeah, lots of drawings for this Kickstarter, which I think helped the process for me at least.
It was awesome. Like this is definitely the most concept art I think we've ever generated, or at least in such a short period of time. Right? It was
Relative to number of pieces, absolutely.
yeah. Oh, it's probably like 40 drawings per two for each one final piece or something, or maybe more. I don't know.
That seems accurate.
Yeah, it was a lot. So when you guys, so one of the things that these, the elemental theme ended up evolving into, it's sort of all various forms of energy, right? Elemental energy. And a couple of the themes that are run through, they all feel like they're moving. They're all fluid and organic. They're all very dynamic. What's the challenge, like sculpting something to feel like it's moving? What are the tricks for trying to get these things all feel like they're in motion? How do you guys do that? Who wants to tackle that one first?
Go
ahead.
What? Do you want to go first, Eli? I don't care. All right, I guess I'll go first. So part of what I like to think about with this, and this is like a discussion I actually had with Elliot, who was the sculptor for the dwarf, was that when you want something to seem in motion, you have to capture the moments between the beginning of the motion and the end of the motion. So with the beginning of the splash, it's like just coming up, and with the end of the splash, it's collapsing back down. So you want to get it sort of when part of it is still rising, and that's the tips of the drops, but the rest of it is starting to come down, and that's why it becomes skinnier. So that's what I was thinking about for those.
So you capture two moments at once, essentially, or two movements at once.
In between, like you want it to look like it's coming from somewhere and going somewhere, or it's going to be static. But movement in a still sculpture is both important and difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it's in a certain sense, it's impossible. Like, how do you sculpt a flame or whatever? Because it almost has no physical. It does have no physical form. And even something like water is very tenuous. But I don't know. For me, it's definitely very impressionistic. I mean, and I like to try and work relatively quickly and kind of keep constant motion in how I'm actually sculpting it. I like to use green stuff for flames and energy forms because it has a smoothness to it, and you can keep pushing it around, and you can kind of keep like physically generating energy through it. I think there's a little bit of video of me doing a little bit on the Phoenix's chest at some point, where I'm just kind of creating the burst of energy up its chest, and so that's definitely something I think about, like literally finding movement in the process, and it's sort of a like dynamic imbalance, like it's not, it's just like a figure running even is kind of a more concrete version of that, but something that's not. It's not static. It's between points, as Nina said, and it is. However, it has its inner logic to it that is creating a balance. The Phoenix, it's the spiral turns into the upward motion of the wings, and there's never a point where you'd be like, spiral stops here and vertical starts here. It flows. So you're always looking for some kind of a flow.
And you can totally picture the Phoenix just like continuing,
yes.
Right? Like it's stopped in like this freeze frame, but the energy of it, like you can totally picture this thing like continuing to rise and the tail lifting up.
Feathers flying out.
Exactly. Like it's almost like just in the next moment. And I think that's what's really gives it that energy.
I think they all have that thing, or they just feel like they're going to keep continuing up and on and out, and I don't know.
One thing.
It's pretty magical.
One thing I think is interesting about these, compared to all the other pieces in the Reliquaries, is that as terrain elements, these are more either creatures, like they're literal elementals, or they're spell effects. They're active things, Whereas the other pieces might be objectives or treasures or ancient pillars or structures that have existed for 1,000 years. these are things that are doing something. So you're probably not going to walk into the lava cavern and the Phoenix will just be hanging out there. Like the DM will be like, and suddenly this thing bursts up out of the lava just as you're starting to cross whatever. And you have to deal with it. Or, you cast, engulfing wave and poof, there's Nina's water droplet. Or there's some kind of, tension between dark and light and the energy helix swirls up out of a moment of spell casting. So yeah, I think they'll be fun that way. There'll be like sort of surprises and dynamic moments in games.
I can totally imagine running into like a necromancer that's the BBEG, and he just like floats around like on a pillar of the helix.
The energy helix for sure.
Yeah.
When you guys are making the armatures for these, right? It's just bent wire stuff generally. Like, how much of the form, like, do you really have to, as you're doing that armature, are you kind of like locking yourself into, this is it, this is the kind of the flow of how the thing is going to go, or can you still adjust as you're going? Because I feel like trying to get get that curve and that motion, that thing, like, I feel like it's going to be so hard to do it with just a piece of wire and hope that you land it.
It's kind of yes and yes. Like, you do kind of lock yourself in. And I certainly think a lot about the shape of the armature and trying to, I spend a lot of time monkeying around with wires and just trying to get the curves just right so that it matches what I'm seeing from all angles. But inevitably, when you put some mass on it, that will change a bit. And there were definitely bits of the Phoenix that got carved away a few times and adjusted.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely try to get it as close as how I want it before I put anything on it, because with green stuff, if it's thick, if it's thin enough, you can actually bend it and adjust it, and maybe if it cracks, you can sand it, fill it in, whatever. But for the most part, once it's hardened, and you'll have to like either carve it away or cut it off to move it and fix it. So I really spent a lot of time just bending wire and trying to picture how it was going to look once the green stuff was on it, to avoid making adjustments. But the other thing I like to do is to like make extra holes for wire. Like, before the green stuff cures fully, I poke wire into like different spots. I'm like, okay, if this doesn't work, maybe this one will work, so that after it's hardened and I figure out, nope, that didn't work, I can just move, I can cut it off and put another wire in.
So you're kind of building you're adjusting the armature as you go, giving yourself an exit ramp if that doesn't pull off.
As many exit ramps as I can give myself, as many as possible. Like,
well, I was thinking
it
of this.
It can get really frustrating, because I ran into the past. There's pieces that like didn't end up getting made because I didn't give myself like ways to fix them, and it would have just been too time consuming to fix.
Well, there's definitely been times where we hit, like with some dungeon pieces or whatever, where you just hit the wood, like, there's nowhere else to go, and you're just in trouble.
And then you have to cut way past the armature so you can fill in and still have something to texture and work on.
And not get sawdust in the clay, and it's all like, ugh.
I think I remember there.
Sorry.
What do you?
I was just going to say the energy helix was actually very challenging in that respect, because it's two pieces cast in different colors that need to fit together, and they fit together kind of like one of those puzzles where you have
it's hard
weird shapes of wire. Yeah, I mean, it actually frustrated the jabbers out of me. Like I knew I could get it together and apart, but until I had like done it 57 times and made a video showing myself exactly how you had to have it just the right angle to twist in, and then it goes together perfectly. But so that was a trick, and like, you have to make the armature, and knowing you're going to bulk it out in 3 dimensions, and both in a double, a helix, and bits sticking off, and one is flowing upward and one is oozing downward, for the light and the shadow. That one involved a lot of tinkering. I don't think I changed the actual armature, but adjusting just how the stuff fit on it, and then having it to be able to still come together and apart. It was
an absolute infuriating puzzle trying to get those together, because I did it once. Somehow I managed, like, early on, I was like, I got it, no problem, and then every other time I tried to do it, I couldn't. I was like, I know it goes, but I can't do it. Erin got pretty good at it because she had to keep putting it together and apart for a thing. Well, the armature question came because as I was looking for images for the behind the scenes doc, I found this really neat one that you'd posted in the dev channel, Nina, of the water geyser in process, where it's just a little bit of green stuff and then it's just like a mess of wires like going everywhere. And I was like, man, how do you know that's going to turn into a thing? And it's really
I feel
fun
like when
seeing...
you're a sculptor, you have to just get really good at visualizing where something is going.
Yeah.
I actually I was thinking about like that picture as I was gonna ask, because I was like, yeah, just I remember seeing that with like some of the stuff up, and how many different, when you're sculpting something like this, how many different sessions is there? How many times do you go like, okay, that's what I'm sculpting today, and then the rest is gonna be like how many times do you have to pick up and put down the like a piece like this on the way? Oh, Nina's muted again. It looks like. I have no idea how that
Sorry.
Momo did it.
Yeah, Momo did it. Momo's still working on his rawhide. Yeah, no, it really depends on the piece. For the geyser, I think it took like about a week of work. That's five days with 8 to 12 hour days, I guess. And the last 2 of those days being basically just getting the surface to be as smooth and clean as possible. And the first day, just getting the shape right.
And that's assuming it all works, right? I feel like a lot of times we'll do a thing and then there's just that, like, you know, you get at some point along the process we look at it and go, oh wait, this isn't doing the thing, you know, it's not resonating the way, whatever. It's
Thank goodness that didn't happen with this piece.
Yes. Well, there was plenty of others. Yeah.
A rest in peace Reaper tree.
Oh.
I just put up the image we were talking about on the stream for people. It was wild, just like seeing that and just like the wire sticking out. It's like, okay, so she knows where the stuff's gonna go, and yeah, it's wild.
So this thing, Eli, on the energy helix. What?
Yes.
Ooh, Hazel's here. She heard us talking about Momo, and it's like, wait. There's another dog here. Hi, Hazel. How did you get the, like? There was that weird, almost face-like. There's just like there's a disturbing sort of I don't know. I keep looking. I keep thinking I see a face, but then it's not. But then it's thing that's like this. The black side has this just. I don't know. There's a disturbed feeling to it.
Yeah. Well, that was the goal. I mean, to make it feel like somewhere in there's dark spirits that are up to no good, and they're struggling against the light that they're wrapping around. And maybe they're evil. Maybe they're just sorrowful or tormented. It could be life and death, or darkness and light, or however you want to look at it. Chaos and order. Probably not order. It's a little
destruction and creation.
Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, I enjoy having things that are kind of half seen and subtle and hidden in there. So there's definitely a lot of things that are almost faces, depending on how you look at them.
It reminds me of the end of Hercules.
The what?
The end of Hercules, where he dives into like the pool with all the
I didn't see
spirits.
that one.
You didn't see Hercules?
No.
That's some of the best music
Disney
from that
one,
era.
he dives into the river Styx to try to pull out Meg.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's one of the better Disney movies. I liked the music.
It's got some of the best music that they've ever done, I think.
I feel like it's come up here before, so I'll go to. Would
Chris
it
brings it up
a
every
5-year-old?
single day. Yes, it would.
Yeah, there are parts at the end that would definitely be a bit much for him.
All right, so a couple more years.
Yeah, knowing what scared him before. If Goofy movie scared him, Hercules is going to be too much.
Yeah, dude, the Goofy movie was terrifying.
But that piece, Nate, was kind of interesting because that was actually sort of one that we hit early on. It was one of my earliest elemental sketches. Became that, but then the trick there was just in the execution and getting it to intertwine right and getting the personality in the 2 spirals.
You know what I have here too is I
think Aaron also struggled a bit with the color on it because it was a weird one. It could go in so many different ways. So that the painting process was also a little tricky for that one. I think I seem to remember we were all kind of debating what color should the dark part be, what color should the light part be, how much should they be just light shadow or scintillating colors, whatever.
What was that crazy black that you recommended, Nina?
for the dark side?
So it was the micaceous iron oxide, which I do believe she ended up using.
Yeah.
I know that we talked a lot about like how to make, because since these were all going to be different colors, we didn't want it to look like rainbow vomit. So
Rainbow vomit.
what ended up happening is we decided to go with the purple because it was falling sort of in between where the water was and where the phoenix was, with the reds and the blues.
Well, she started with that green. There was sort of a
Yeah,
green
she started
and black.
with the green, and we were all thinking it was looking too loud.
Well, once you did the lineup, it was it was like a tie dye. It was just a lot of bright colors all in one place.
There's some really subtle, interesting things she did on these, though. Like, for example, she made it so that the light from the purple looked like it was reflecting on the inside of the black one, which sort of gave it this like glowing feeling, even though there won't be an LED in it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a gradient. Like everything, nothing is like a straight color. She's always blending a little. And she goes, I have this neat. We're talking about color. She was testing the color for the geyser on this crystal from Caverns Deep. It was kind of an early test of like watery iridescence and whatnot to see how that would work. Looked pretty cool. And then she tested. This is wild. She tested a paint scheme for the Phoenix on the basilisk, the Bleakmire basilisk from Wildlands.
Yeah, that thing looks awesome.
We had clear castings of this thing, right? She needed a clear creature. She needed something in clear to test with. Whatever. So she did like painted this whole guy while we were waiting because we were a little behind, and by little I mean a lot. The sculpt, our timeline was tight on this thing, so. As sculpts were taking longer than we thought, the time to paint stuff was like rapidly diminishing. So it was like anything to kind of get ahead of figuring out the thing before it lands, because it was so this was a kind of a wild.
Everybody's losing their mind in chat. I think everybody that got an unpainted basilisk is now considering.
It's cool, right?
It looks very cool.
Wait, it has LED. Oh, it's gonna be crazy.
It does have LEDs. I'll hit the blackout.
Green. Oh boy, it's maybe not so great because it's. We need some light.
Yeah, we do need it. All right.
Well, green LEDs maybe in a fire thing. Well, this is also, the Phoenix, originally, right, we said in the video, we're going to have an RGB color changing LED so you could choose what color do you want your Phoenix. And so if you've got red dice, you can put the red light on, or blue dice, you can put the blue light or whatever. And A, the light didn't carry far enough to like turn the whole thing color. And B, it meant the thing was like, really like white and weird and lifeless, trying to take all the color from the paint did not work out, or all the color from the light rather.
Yeah. I remember that was an especial challenge for that piece in particular for her, because it has to look great when it's lit and it has to look great when it's unlit, and the whole thing is lit to some degree because it's all translucent with more or less opaque paint here and there. But there's no. Yeah, most of the other pieces, they're parts that are just solid color that will not have light coming through. So but this one, it has to flow both when it's on and when it's off. So,
every other family was opaque, with the exception of a couple of little areas. These are the whole special things. Everything here was translucent. So it's like, well, you've got to keep some of the translucence while you're painting it, so it'll also look good with light. It's a heck of a challenge. We should take some questions.
We should.
Are there any questions? Have people been writing stuff down? Their questions?
So far I haven't seen anything major come up, but if anybody does have any questions or anything you want to see, let us know. Are we going to move over to the terrain build?
Yeah. Are we doing a giveaway? Did we ever find out if we can do giveaways on these?
Need to ask him if it's the
all right, we're doing another giveaway.
We're doing it. We need to get permission for the pledge manager stuff.
All right, so Eli had a word yesterday. Nina, you get to choose today's word. What's the special word of the day?
So I'm looking at the chat, and someone just wrote that sploosh though. So I think the word is going to be sploosh.
Okay.
All right.
Not sploosh though.
No, just sploosh. SPLOOSH.
All right, getting that in there.
And we definitely mean this in the most correct and pristine way possible.
All right, perfect. If you want to enter this giveaway, just type sploosh in chat. It'll be for a $50 gift card for the Dwarven Forge store, which actually probably can be used for the Pledge Manager. We usually let people use gift cards for that, don't we?
I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm sure it'll be fine. We just need to talk to Jay and get it approved to do Pledge Manager stuff.
Yes. We'd love to give people Pledge Manager credit as part of these.
We just need to get it cleared. Uh-oh. Well, perfect. So that's sploosh. People wanted to see what these look like without the dice inserts in them.
Well, the good news is none of them have dice inserts in them right now.
Oh, that's good. So like this, just remove the dice.
No, they haven't had. We can do show close up here.
Yeah.
No, it has a die, but not a die insert.
It's a clear die. Oh.
And then this one.
Capitalization does not matter. Don't worry about capitalizing it.
Any sploosh will do.
Any sploosh will do. We'll take any sploosh. It can be a sentence with sploosh in it even.
So this one is just is hollow all the way
It's
through.
just a hole in the middle, yeah.
And then senior sploosh.
I feel like these sculpts might be the ones that look the most natural without an insert. Just because of the nature of them being kind of amorphous.
Yeah. The sploosh maw.
Are the heroes developed with LEDs in mind, or is it more of an afterthought?
No, they were developed with the LEDs in mind.
And yes,
sure.
McGreg, there are 2 LEDs in the Phoenix, one in the chest and one in the base.
Yes. Yeah, there's a one to uplight the die and one in the chest. We need to change the battery too. This guy's getting dim. We tried initially 2 LEDs in the chest, or the idea was to have like one going right and one going left for the thing, and it just didn't. One big central. I think this has a 5 mil LED.
5 million.
5 million LED. 5 millimeters.
Phoenix is going to work nicely as a major temple idol. Yeah, I feel like the Phoenix, it could be a monster. It could be an avatar. It could be a lot of things. Let's see. This is an interesting one from Vertex. I think Nina can speak to this probably the best. It says, how much have you incorporated digital sculpting into your workflows? Seeing some updates with ZBrush, and it looks like some bits of the spider thing were digitally sculpted.
Spider thing?
The Enigma spider that Toby sculpted was digital.
He did do that. So in this particular series, not at all. This is completely traditional. So you should tune in on Sunday at 3 if you want to hear more about that. But we did do a bit of, basically the time crunch on this particular set is more than what we usually have. So as I'm sure you can imagine, there's a lot of time-saving techniques when you sculpt digitally, such as the undo button and symmetry and the ability to resize at will.
The undo button in clay it takes a lot longer.
I find myself trying to hit it anyway. I'm like, oh, Control Z, please undo. And it just doesn't work in real life as much as I would like it to. But these ones, as we were saying earlier, you spend a lot of time just bending the wire to get it right because you don't have the undo button. The undo button is basically a file and a razor blade.
Oh, not a digital file, a file.
Yeah.
Oof.
Sometimes a Dremel.
Yes.
I dremeled the Phoenix at
a couple times.
I dremeled the geyser too. And anytime I'm doing green stuff, I feel like I end up dremeling something.
Well, what's kind of neat and courageous about our process is that you guys put this, you post the stuff up on the dev channel before it's done, and are, most times you work with an outside sculptor and they're like, all right, here's the thing, it's done. And it's like, okay, here we are halfway through. Is there anything? And sometimes it's like, well, we need to completely change this or adjust this or whatever. So it's a really, it's a pretty vulnerable process where you have to put the unfinished thing out there and get feedback and adjust. And it's a tough thing to do as an artist.
I think there was some digital on at least one sculpt in everything except Elemental and Elven. Right? Because Dwarven Hero had
Dwarven has a little
digital.
Yes,
Elemental
that
digital,
seems correct.
Artificer some digital. Yeah. Although it's easier when you guys do it earlier on because like Drew will like put the thing up and be like, dude, like you didn't make his head is like half the size it's supposed to be, and he has to like cut the head off and start from scratch. Versus like we catch it earlier by looking at it earlier. That literally happened with the basilisk. He just like went off the rails with some, I don't know what it was, and didn't check it, and then had to chop the head off and do it again.
Awesome. Let's roll this giveaway, and then we've got another question, but I want to get the giveaway out of the way first, and then we'll move over to the build. All right, rolling for sploosh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Da, da, da. The Balanced Druid, which is an excellent choice to win in the Elemental stream, I think.
True neutral. It's really true.
Yeah, I'll whisper you real quick.
That's really funny. That's like
Yeah.
the best username to win an Elemental.
It's perfect.
giveaway.
It's meant to be. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I've whispered you. We'll get that set up after the stream. So the question I saw, it would be interesting. We have another sculptor in chat saying that they're working on something similar.
Cool.
Even like working some LEDs into their resin dice stands. They're wondering what we used for the paint. It's mostly high flow. I wish Aaron was here for this part. It's mostly high flow acrylics, right? We use a lot of golden.
It's all high flow acrylics.
Yeah.
I can speak to what she used a bit because Erin and I sit right next to each other and we talk about this.
Awesome.
So she used a lot of transparent glazes. She mixed things into more opaque paints to make them more transparent. She used the Interference Golden series a lot on the Helix. The one I mentioned before was the Micaceous Iron Oxide, which is another paint from Golden. So it's a combination of Picorni paints, which you can get in our web store, and Golden paints, which you can get in their web store.
So you're saying go
Perfect.
to the internet?
Yes, I'm saying that all of the paints that she used you can purchase, and I'm sure that she's gonna at some point talk about this because she did a lot of neat stuff with this, and it'd be great if she could speak to it personally.
I think she's gonna be here for the Artificer stream on Monday, I believe. Oh, you also can on our YouTube channel. We do have a mini documentary about this set. We're doing one for every set, and I believe she talks about it a bit there. You can see some of her process there.
Also, the joy of dwarven paint.
Also, the joy of dwarven painting. That's true. Pretty much all Dwarven Forge stuff is painted with high flow acrylics, primarily from Golden and Picorni. Every now and then we will use something else for like a special effect, but like at least 90% of the paints are Golden or Picorni, I think.
Are there any questions before I drift into the terrain?
Not seeing any other questions. If I've missed anything, let me know. Let's see.
Chance, you got Eli and Nina standing here with
true.
an AMA.
Got a lot of extremely experienced sculptors with very cool stuff on the table. This does look pretty good and nice.
Yeah, this is a build that Toby put together that we haven't yet gotten on the camera. It's the first time it's on the camera. So it was he wanted to do something in ice to kind of give a nice palette for all these bright colors to pop. And so we have our sploosh friend here on the water cloud. And then also this, oh man, I'm gonna have to come off. Wait a second. Hold on. I don't have enough slack. What are you trying to do? Just get a little closer to the build. It's this, the feed cable. I think the Schmutz is on the sensor. Oh, no,
If it's on the sensor, there's not much we can do.
oh,
I think it is on the sensor.
Yeah,
I'll get it after this.
we'll get there. Yeah. So
See.
we got.
Splooshes look fab on the water. Yeah, like I think they make really good water weirds.
Water weirds, elementals. They could be some sort of oversized method. Are there water methods? Yeah.
There's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Steam. They're all 2 elements.
Oh right.
No, wait, there's straight up fire methods, aren't there? They're
I'm
all
pretty sure
mixed?
it's like an ash method or a lava method
Dust.
or a dust method. Yeah.
Well, this could be an ice thing, but there's so this is using the whole what is it? The whole floor, 2x2, vertical whole floor. So that with water underneath, and this fits really nicely into that little nook. So it feels like it's it could be a water thing, and as you get close, boom, the water weird like bursts out. Looks really nice with the translucent ice walls as well. Here it is up in the ice flow.
Could imagine some sort of thing where the players have to jump from sploosh to sploosh. Oh yeah, these could be like literally frozen columns of water that like the druid sets up to cross something. Somebody was talking when we first revealed it. Somebody was talking about having like a water genasi and like just having them like basically skate everywhere on a water column.
So this is the necrotic sludge under there in a hole that put the energy helix spiraling up. So that could be like a spell effect that bursts out and is unleashed that you have to do something about. And then up on top of Stairway to Violence, the Phoenix looks quite at home up there. I'd love to do a build with that as like the big altar at the back of the temple or something.
It could be interesting if you do have like the Phoenix like appears in an ice cavern and then like have environmentally like stuff starts melting and have that affect the battlefield and the terrain.
Wow.
Yeah, start swapping out ice walls with regular stone walls, and then with lava walls or whatever.
When I move the mic across the room.
When you move the mic away and then there.
The other thing we got to do is put the Phoenix on the Oblivion Nexus, because that's gonna be another nice match for it, I think.
Swap out the ice Stairway to Violence for regular. Yeah, you could be changing from ice cavern to regular cavern as things melt. Or have like water levels rise if you have some way to do that. If there's a bunch of ice that's melting.
And turn to lava. You
could use like maybe you could have them like jumping in the water to like dodge attacks and stuff.
Yeah. You could have some kind of a sort of clear portal with the light puck underneath it and go from a blue to a red as it changes over from ice to molten rock.
The Phoenix would look fantastic on the light puck.
Yeah. Oh, have we tested that?
No.
Do we have a functioning one in here right now?
Somewhat. I don't remember if we took it apart again. We had at one point. I don't remember. Eric and Tyler have been and Miles have been putting those things through like, I don't know, drop tests and all this stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what survived all the.
We're doing drop tests with the delicate electronics.
Yeah. Well, we got to see what's the threshold. What can we?
What does it take to break them?
What does it take to break our?
When we only have like two functioning ones in office.
Yeah,
Maybe we can do the break test later.
It's very scientific.
All right.
It's like Stefano's here.
We have footage of. I want to do something with the footage we got of Miles taking a box with a bunch of Dwarvenite and one of the battle mats in it, and just dropping it over and over again on every side to see if it would crease.
Very scientific.
We hit 600 backers?
Woo!
Nice.
Cool. Do we have any more questions? We did our giveaway. Man, this lens is absolutely filthy.
We're getting some requests to trade some stuff out.
Trade what out?
They want to see the. Oh.
Sounds like Toby traded something out. Could you guys hear that from?
Yeah, I think that had to have picked up on the mics. There's no way it didn't.
Something just collapsed hard in the other room.
Yeah. Are you okay? Okay.
Was that? That was a very unconvincing yes.
Yeah. Wanted to see like the Phoenix on the pedestal of pain, stuff like that. See some like lava stuff. That could be fun. It changes from ice to hellscape over time.
Ooh, let me go get. I have some hands right here.
Awesome. He's gonna go grab that. It sounds like everything's okay. Nina, are you muted?
I don't know who's doing this.
Tell Momo to stop stepping on things.
Toby's just doing drop tests over there.
If Momo or Charlemagne are there, I'm sure people would love to. I don't think people know about Charlemagne. They know about Momo.
Charlemagne is somewhere.
Oh, is that Dougie?
Yeah, that's Dougie.
I miss Dougie.
Dougie has put on a little girth in recent past. Hey.
Is he biting?
Are you fat shaming that cat?
I
Don't
am.
fat shame the cat.
Oh,
Where
man.
did Charlemagne go? I don't see him.
Perfect. Okay, Nate is here with some supplies.
Well,
Let's see.
we have a pestle on a.
Put a pedestal on the stairway. It's not really meant to work like that.
Hat. That's a good thing, right?
It's more like the bottom than the top, honestly. I would love to make a lava stairway to violence.
Isn't it? Oh, the steroid bonds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Does it fit in the... Does it fit in the hole? Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Super nicely in there. And then you know what I should also get is, let me go get the Oblivion Nexus.
Oh, that'd be sick.
See if we can stack that on top of this. And get.
Let's see. Let's go here. Any other requests or questions for? Any other questions about elemental or anything? I'm trying to get you guys a good look at what's going on over there. This Jenga game looks crazy. I am actually kind of terrified. That Phoenix is not going to survive a fall from that height if it topples. Now I need a Phoenix flying mini. This is the mini, isn't it? Let's see.
You could do another version where it's airborne rather than erupting from a base, I guess.
Animated versions of some of these would be really interesting, actually.
Radiant Horror, I'm looking at you.
Don't put it on top of... Alright. This is...
You can't see the... Oh, that works really nicely there. And then...
Great build, Nate. Great build.
This is Hey, Toby, how do you feel about this master building?
It adds so much to it.
Yeah.
And it fits right in the, you can take away the rift. Ooh.
Rabbit Burner's
Ooh,
daughter
that's
does
cool
this,
that it
so...
fits.
Oh, so
There
you
you go.
could put the light puck right under that.
Yeah.
Nice.
You don't want to sit there.
Have the light puck shine up through the Nexus into the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see it from the, you can see it top side, but it's, oh here, it's got light here.
Is the Phoenix made of Dwarvenite now or resin? Everything we have in-house is resin. We don't have any Dwarvenite versions of these in-house yet. So...
Oh yeah, if the light puck was doing something, you could do some fun, there could be some fun light puck shenanigans with this thing.
Yeah, we have to fund the Kickstarter to make the molds, to make the Dwarvenite, to have the indestructible Phoenix.
But we'll get there.
Yeah.
We get, here, you can see the, wait, I can't see the,
Go.
there you go. That's a masterfully executed Tower of Phoenix.
Absolutely nothing wrong with this.
You balance all that on a tracker pillar?
Yeah. Well, you
Now
know
this
that
is a circus.
the ability tracker is meant to be an elevation piece, so just put the whole... Please don't.
Anything can be an elevation piece if you try hard enough.
Facts.
Nate.
We got
Nate.
this. We got this. Watch.
Nate, no.
It's a delicate, one-of-a-kind prototype.
We only have one... Dwarven Forge version of Dread. Oh my god. Alright.
Get a still of that for.
Try not to breathe too hard, please.
We did.
Now turn on the fogger.
Luckily, Chris unplugged the fogger and hid the remote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
I don't know. Cool. Well, I think that's a good way before this falls. I think we should call it a show.
Alright. Alright.
Wow.
Well, thank you for joining this, whatever it is.
Yeah. So we have we'll be back tomorrow with a deep dive on the Elven theme. Michelle will be joining us from Hawaii. And then we have tomorrow night at 7 p.m. we have Adventure Design with Daniel Kwan, Justice Armand, and B. Dave Walters.
Yeah.
And then
Sunday we're
Sunday,
doing Eldritch.
Nina will be back on Sunday for Eldritch. Nina and Hamster.
right?
Nina and Hamster should both be there, yeah. And
You're
That's
not
at 3
coming,
p.m.
Eli?
What?
I think I'll go too. Because I did the
Yeah.
the writing.
We get the band back together. And then on Monday is Artificer with Eli, Toby, and Aaron.
yeah. And then
What
that
time is
night,
Artificer?
that should be 11 because we have
Okay.
another guest stream that night. That night, it's a Magic the Gathering stream featuring Becca Scott, Jimmy Wong, and Michael Sinclair.
Woo!
So
You're gonna be playing with.
We're
Alright,
betting the
dial.
entire Kickstarter on a high stakes game of Magic.
you know, it was planned to be a discussion build.
Oh.
Maybe we do say like, hey, all of you just point your webcams down. We'll have Toby come out with the commander deck.
Here's what we do.
We'll just do.
They have to, if they win, they each get a completionist, and if they lose, they each have to back for a completionist.
So you're gonna hinge all of that on one of us being able to beat 3 people who are
Through
specifically
professional
known
Magic players.
for being incredible Magic players.
Hamster could do it. I believe in him.
Does Hamster play Magic?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Very well, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
pretty much. Yeah, we could collectively. Eli's been playing Magic for 20 years. Nina is an absolute ruthless Magic
So
player.
if we all were one person, we could definitely win. Is that what you're saying, Nate?
Yeah, I'm saying if we could amalgamate ourselves into like a giant zombie.
I can't
mob,
believe
diagram
you
mob.
want to
Corpse
hinge $3,000 worth of product on whether or not one of us can beat Jimmy Wong.
I think that's a fair. No, okay. Well, and then let's get out of here.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thank you, Nina, Eli.
Thanks for.
Bye.
you guys
Thanks,
soon.
everybody.
All right. Nate, please remove the Phoenix as soon as I end the stream. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.